All right, welcome back to the next episode of the Holotable Games Network. I'm Ginger Joey.
And I'm Hidden Cylon number 14, Corey.
Okay, so now we're hidden. We're bringing in the Star Wars mechanics of hidden into the Cylon
Yeah,
world. Okay, I'll take it. It's a nice little blend.
did you
Cylon,
not watch the Ron
Battlestar
Moore
Galactica.
series?
Huh?
They were hidden Cylons. There was 13 of them.
I did
The
not.
final five showed up, like the secret Cylons.
I did
We already
not
had them.
watch Battlestar Galactica. I watched the original
You
stuff
missed
from
out,
long
honestly.
ago in the '80s, but I never watched the remake, so to speak, of it. So.
The new series was actually really good. I genuinely recommend it. It was good work. If you ever have a chance, go back. It's enjoyable.
I just heard spoilers if you haven't seen it, but I just heard that everyone turns into a Cylon. Hooray! And it was just like,
I mean, yeah,
okay, that's a story plot that I don't really care about. So
there's a lot of that, and it was very obvious they didn't plan it out. They just were like, "What are we doing next? I don't know. Let's make these people Cylons." And well, they
yeah,
they built up this whole huge. There's five hidden Cylons that we don't know about yet, and then they obviously didn't plan out who are going to be those five, and they just kind of like last minute were like, let's just have it be these people." And one of them just really does not make sense, and it's like, no, that really
see
just
that
messes up his character so bad.
that would have bothered me. So I was just like, nah, I'll pass. Anyway,
I argue the good outweighs the bad. Let's go with
sure,
that. It's still worth it. But yes, there is. It's a little bit early 2000s prestige television for sure.
sure. So. All right. So once again, Corey did not want to come over and play games with me. So we are doing a little remote podcast. This has to be the last time that
I
we
mean,
need some actual play stuffs here.
I don't know how to tell you. You smell. I just don't want to be around you. Sorry.
I smell like roses, my friend. Roses.
No, it
Or
has
is it
just been a
ginger? I
hectic
smell
week.
like ginger.
You smell like ginger. That's what you got to go with. Yes. No, it's been a hectic week. I just decided it'd be a little easier just to do a quick live podcast, but or just virtual podcast this week. But definitely looking to be back next week. Get some gameplay in. We have not highlighted any gameplay for a while. I'd like to. I think I'm going to bring out my Poe Data Vault for some play next week. So we will get something up for you next week. But this week we did want to do a quick podcast rather than just not do anything to talk about some things,
Mainly,
particularly the PQ that we had yesterday here in Portland, which was the first in the Pacific Northwest for this new set.
yeah, it's also part of the reason why we're not doing it is because we're kind of burned out from a full day
Yeah,
of play from yesterday, so it gets kind of
it was
exhausting.
well for some of us a full day of play.
Okay, listen here. I mean, you are time and time again bringing buses into our podcasts, and I feel like
You
I'm
know
getting
it.
hit by a lot of them.
You know
Um,
it. But
yeah,
no, that was to be clear. Joey, well, Joey can talk about his record. He dropped a little early, but it was to also to help out with some live streaming. So I want to highlight right at the start here at Unlimited Power. We've brought him up before. David here, local, great guy, fantastic guy. Does live streaming. He live streamed the event. Joey hopped in for some commentary assistance after he dropped out, so to give some breaks to a few of the individuals that were doing it. So we had a little rotating crew of a few different people. I did not hop in because I actually did play through the whole day, just but that was more my just trying to see if I could get to a good record. So that was kind of how that went out. But Joey did a good job. I don't know how many did you do? Three, four matches, right?
I think I helped finish out the Swiss rounds, and
Yeah.
then as other people were done and we cut to top eight, we have a great group of people in the Pacific Northwest that are more than capable and willing to pop in, and you guys should definitely give it a listen and a view. And I'll put the link in the description of this video. But yeah, David does a fantastic job with his production value on all the streams that he does, and we have a great crew that actually gets in there, including Rob, Alex, I think Rebel Trader was in there as well doing some commentary.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, there's just a lot of great people that have a
Misha hopped
great
in. Got to
Misha.
give him a
Yes,
prop.
Misha, absolutely. They all are great players that end up having great perspective on the game. So it's really good to hear all the different perspective because that's how you improve yourself. You got to take
Yeah.
yourself outside of your box and listen to outside viewpoints to go, oh, I didn't think about it that way. Or, oh, that's a line I could have taken. Okay, cool. So, yeah. Also, you just get to hear like some of us like just banter at each other for 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 some of the me and Alex had some some real fun with our banter.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah,
Uh,
I can never highlight enough how amazing the Pacific Northwest is for this game. Just an amazing group of people, very talented, so many talented players, which is a curse and a blessing because it's great to have all these great players to help improve your game, but it's also makes it very challenging to do well in a lot of these tournaments because there's so many very good players. So sometimes I'm like, hey, if I could be in some of these other PQs that we will talk about in a bit, I'd have a lot better chance of this.
yeah. So just to recap the Portland scene, I don't have the total breakdown, but from what I understood, there was quite a few Quinlan Tarkin towns at this event, more so than was to be expected after Worlds, where I would have thought I would have seen a lot more Kylo and Talzin and stuff like that. But we had a good smattering of Han 2 still, and then quite a few of the Quinlan Tarkin towns, and then you definitely have your mix of a lot of other decks in there. Case in point is the winner and runner up ended up being an Iden data vault and a jump to light speed Boba Fett data vault. That was your first and
Yeah.
second place.
And worth mentioning, I do want to bring up, we had 122 players show up. 128 were signed up, but as is per typical, a few did not actually show up. But yeah, we got 122 players, so a great turnout for the event. And yeah, very diverse, I would say, meta. I also, I'm looking at the results on Melee, but I can't figure out how people do those bar graphs. I'm not smart enough to do these things, so I'm not sure exactly to get the percentages. But that said, it did feel like a pretty diverse field. Even the top eight, we did not have a lot of redundancies there. There was a couple Han Solos and a couple of Idens. But
Hmm.
aside from that, we had the Boba Fett, we had a Gar Saxon Yellow, which was great to see. Or was that a Gar Blue, actually?
It
Double check on
was
that one.
uh, it was the Gar ECL from Zayd.
That was Gar ECL. Sorry, yeah, Zayd's Gar ECL. That was the one. So we had that. We had a Quinlan in there, and we actually had a Kylo. That was the old. What was that? Was that set two Shadows
The what?
Kylo, or was that set three?
So that was a Kylo Tarkentown from set two. It was a super
Yeah, set two.
aggro deck. So it was a double aggro or a double aggression deck. That was piloted by Jasper, who was a previous PQ winner. We had Snowden, who was also a previous PQ winner. It was a very, very like packed and heavy-handed tournament. We had a lot of previous winners at this tournament. And
Yep, a
so
ton of
that
those.
yeah, that top eight was definitely a well-earned top eight. No
Mhm.
matter where you placed in that, you grinded and you got there. So big congratulations to all the top eight of this tournament.
Yep. Congrats to everybody, which is wonderful job done. Great play all day long. Yeah, looking through the full all the different pages, I would say, I mean, just ballparking what I'm seeing here, by far Han 2 was the most representative. We saw still a ton of Han 2s. They're just really kind of dominating this meta, I would say, at least in the numbers, and then followed by Towson and Quinlan being the next there, the next
Right.
biggest showings. But that said, it's not overwhelming of this is just all of the field. There is a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of different decks I'm seeing. There was a Piet showing up. There was a Chancellor Palpatine Colossus there. Like there was a lot of stuff
I had to play
in the
that deck.
meta. Oh, did you?
That was
That's
my
a
very first
grind.
round.
That is
That
a
was my
grind of a
round
grind.
one match. If there's only the one, that was my round one match. And I want to say it was Nathan piloted that. He's one of the uh what is it? The Raiders out of Seattle. He's part of that group.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had people from Seattle coming down. We had people from Salem coming up. We had quite a few
Mhm.
people traveling just to get to this PQ, which was great to see. It just shows again the Pacific Northwest really coming together for all these major events. But yeah, that Chancellor deck was it was a grind for sure. and he kind of was my antithesis of the deck that I was running. So it was like, oh, this is gonna
The
suck
worst
for
thing I could have
me.
seen.
I ended up taking one of the games, but it came down to like a couple actions in the very end, and I just couldn't sequence it right to get there, kind of thing. So he got me on that in the very first game. So
Yeah, and I think Peter was the lone Chris.
nice,
He tried. He brought it. He
nice.
ended up 1-6, but he was there, represented at least.
Yeah, but I
Which,
mean, I think what is the takeaway from this is that you had the yes, you had the Hans, you had the Talzins and everything else like that, but at the end, the two decks that won were some of the least represented decks that we had at the tournament. And
yeah,
it kind of just goes to show you that it is not necessarily just meta chasing right now, which speaks to the health of the meta at the moment. It's if you know your deck well enough, you're not going to be favored into all the matchups. In fact, there's probably going to be a couple of them that you're just going to not be favored into. Part of
yeah,
the success of a tournament like this does come into who you get paired against
yeah,
and a little bit of luck. But your skill comes from knowing your deck, knowing your lines, and what you need to do to win by knowing what outs you have available. One of the best examples that I can say of this, and again, you're gonna have to go back and watch Unlimited Power's stream of this, is um, Alex Farrell's match against Sam's Iden.
yeah.
Alex knew his deck so well that he was able to navigate through the problems that were going to present themselves from the Iden and know how to manage his own resources to give him the best possible win conditions. And although he didn't end up winning the match, it's still a clinic to watch him play that deck and navigate through that because he was able to reserve things that he knew he had to reserve, play things out. He when he knew he had to play them to apply the pressure kind of thing, knowing that stuff is gonna just be deleted. Right, he's
Yeah.
sacrificing certain units, which ones he wants to put out when he can, kind of thing. He's holding back, waiting for like annihilators to hit, timing when the it's a clinic. That guy like knows that deck and put on a very good masterclass of how to properly gauge yourself through the course of a long grindy match. So highly recommend watching that.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. Alex, again, great guy, wonderful guy. He's just such a delight to be around, such a great player as well. And yeah, he did a great job. He didn't quite make it there, which I mean, he's not. I mean, Iden is favored into that. You're so he's definitely on the back foot from the very start against that deck. But he did a amazing job many times when I was watching, going, he's fucked. He's out of it at this point. There's no way.
Something
But
to
he
note
still was,
though
yeah, like he was
is
still
that
able to just get through it.
yeah, something to note is that in the top eight, the very first match he had to face was the other Iden Data Vault, which he
Yeah.
did beat that one before he faced Sam in the top four with his Iden Data Vault. So it wasn't an impossible, unwinnable match. And that's what I'm trying to point
hmm
out is that, like, yes, he's his back's going to be against the wall going through this, but it was great. It was, like I said, you have to check that out. That was fantastic to watch.
Yeah. It just all of the top eight matches that were streamed were good. Um, I do want to really briefly talk about. There's a little controversy if you watch the Kylo match that was the first one that was streamed, and I just want to mention this just because the chat got a little not very nice. And I always like to highlight that. Remember, on the internet, these are people. Like this is people, and people make mistakes. Mistakes happen. I know the player Jasper who is running that Kylo deck very well. He accidentally drew 7 cards and started playing because he plays a lot of Magic, and he's been playing a lot of Magic this week, and his brain was fried at the end of 10 hours plus of already playing that day. And he accidentally drew 7 and played a couple rounds before it was noticed, and it called out. And he got a game loss for it, which was the right call. Like, that is how it should go. Like, you can't roll that back at that point. It's a game loss. But the chat was definitely getting into the, "Wow, what a horrible cheater, what a terrible person." It's like, That's not Jasper. I know the guy well. He's an incredible player. He is not that type of person in any way. And even afterwards, I was talking to him, and he felt terrible. Like he's like, I don't, my brain just, it crapped out. It sucks. And I mean, he ended up losing, and he probably had a better chance of winning if he had been able to get that match actually played rather than just automatically losing it.
He
So
still won game two.
he still won game two. Yeah, like he wasn't out, but he would have had a better chance, obviously, if he'd gotten all three games to play. But it just these things happen. Mistakes are going to happen in tournaments, and don't. I don't think it's fair to automatically jump to, especially when you're just watching it on a stream of, this guy, man, look at this guy trying to cheat. It's like that's not what happened here, and let's not do that. Be nice. Let's keep this Star Wars community positive. I think that's what I think it is in general. Even in Galactics, I saw just around the country, around the world, people are very positive and nice people, and let's stay that way and give people the benefit of the doubt. Let the judges handle it. And that's really where it's at. Don't you make a judging decision. Let the judges handle it and deal with it as they will, and just go with that. If some people become regular real problems, I do expect that Fantasy Flight and the judges will take care of that. But it's not for the crowd to get your pitchforks out and go after them. So please just always remember it's people playing, and people are going to make mistakes after a 10-hour day. It happens. It happens to all of us.
Yeah, and black sleeves on a black mat, that blends.
Yeah, yeah, that caused another issue. Yeah, don't do that. You should know better.
No, well, I mean,
uh,
he didn't. It wasn't his mat. It was
no, yeah, it was
the
the
stream mat.
dream
So,
mat. Yeah.
but yeah, no,
So
it's
yeah.
stuff like that does happen, and it's unfortunate. But and in a competitive environment, yes, people are going to be calling things out, and you are gonna like. Whereas you might have let something go before. In a competitive environment, you're not going to let those little things go, and that's something that
Yeah.
that players need to keep in mind, even when you're playing in these tournaments, is that you can't be expected to be able to take back moves in a competitive environment that you would have been able to do in a casual play at your local LFG card store.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've heard other instances of people being disgruntled by not being able to be taking back moves or being called out on like, oh, you wouldn't let me take that back kind of thing. It happened to
No.
another player, and it was just like you shouldn't be you shouldn't have that expectation when you get to this competitive level. It's, I mean, people always say sometimes you just got to play perfect, and if you make a mistake, you have to just live with that mistake.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that is the case that happens. But the biggest thing you can do is learn from those mistakes so that you don't do them again. That's the
Hmm.
biggest thing. And practice, it helps you get that perfect line going into it. I mean, like I said, a lot of the game does come down to there's a good chunk of luck involved, right? The
Hmm.
skill is not making as few mistakes as possible because very few people can run absolutely perfect throughout something because there is that luck factor that you have to adapt to whatever comes your way, be it card draw, be it something your opponent did that you really didn't expect to happen. You're like,
Yeah.
huh? So you have to roll with the punches, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is no matter what comes your way, you got to roll with the punches. I mean, look at me. I scrubbed out O3
Yeah. Let's.
with the same deck that I got 20th at the Open in Galactics. The exact same deck, minus like 3 card differential. But it was like I was so like busy after Galactics. I didn't have a chance to like update anything or test anything going into this PQ because it was so quick afterwards. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to run back what I already did that was successful and see what happens. And I scrubbed out O3. And it was like, well, that sucks. It doesn't mean the deck is bad. Maybe a couple play mistakes happened by me. And or I ran up against opponents, like I said, the Chancellor Colossus deck, where he gets so much card draw against me and healing against me. I was like, oh, this is not going to be a fun matchup for me. And I grounded as much as I could, but he got there. And
Mhm.
so fine, O3, I drop out and I go have some fun and enjoy the color commentary with unlimited power. because that's also something I enjoy in this community. A lot of people still played because they could hit, top 32 for some prize support or something else like that. I knew I
Yeah.
wasn't
Did
getting
you
there.
want to really quickly though, before I go and talk about my play? Why don't you mention just what your actual deck was? I think that's worth bringing up. You said it was the same deck, but do you want to bring up what that deck was?
I was doing Han 2, but a yellow version of it.
Yeah.
Essentially, it plays a lot of the same stuff Quinlan does, but I'm focusing more on a discard package with force synergies with like Kiadimundi and Mace Windu for some control elements and stuff. So,
Hmm.
but essentially, my goal is to strip your hand by the 4 resource turn, and then you're in top deck mode.
Yeah.
And I built the deck mainly because we're in a red blue meta, so to speak, where it's just a lot of removal, removal, removal. And it's the type of game that I personally distaste the most. I enjoy the puzzle of the board and having to figure out what I have to do on the board to get there. I don't like the play style of, oh, I play a thing, you remove it. I play a thing, you remove it. I play a thing, you remove it. That's boring to me, which ironically was the Iden deck that like won or like basically got runner up in the whole thing, right? That is his play style. Great, fine, fantastic. There's a lot of play styles out there. I don't enjoy it. But in an environment like this, where you're playing for a seat at Worlds, right? Even if you
Hmm.
don't enjoy the deck, bring the deck, play what's going to win, right? That's the point. You can go play your casual other stuff that you super enjoy in the locals. But when you're playing in a competitive, you need to bring the most competitive deck for you in the environment that you possibly can. That should be your goal. If you're trying to win, it should be your goal. If you're there just to kick it and have a good time, bring whatever you
Yeah.
want, right? But since I don't like playing against those types of decks, I wanted to build a deck that could counter that deck. The best way that I know to counter that is to remove their tools out of their hand. So
Hmm.
that's what I was trying to do with this deck, where I'm running like 20 cards that discard a card out of your hand. So it's a good, 40% of my deck says, hi, you don't have anything to do now. And I know it's a very frustrating experience to be on the receiving end of that, but I also get equally frustrated when all of my stuff just gets removed instantaneously. So
Yeah.
to me, it's tit for tat. I'm doing the thing that I need to do to be that the best results for me. I'm also not sacrificing my ability to play against other decks because hand destruction is universal, but I'm also
Hmm.
playing just big good units, which is your Podamarin, your Mace Windows. I end up getting to Crate Dragons and stuff like that for my finishers and stuff. So I'm still playing like that Quinlan kind of package as far as that goes, but I'm still playing solid units, wall destroying your hand as my form of control. That's what it was doing. So,
Yep. Perfect. Yeah, and it's a good deck. It's just, yeah, as you mentioned, sometimes you get the bad draws, and that's how it goes. I
right.
kind of had a little similar myself. I brought the actually Kazuta Blue. It's been tweaked a fair bit since we last showed it on the channel. We might have to bring it back to show again in the near future. I actually have further tweaks I made after the PQ after I noticed some weaknesses I needed to shore up. But I kind of had the same mindset of I'm a bit frustrated by a few things in the meta. Control. I'm a control player also, so I do like control. I know how it is, so it doesn't frustrate me as much. But I did know we are going to see more control, which is what we saw. I also knew that we're going to still see a lot of the force throw decks, which we saw a ton of. There was a lot of Hantus, there was a lot of Quinlan, there was a lot of Mother Thousands. It's to be expected, and I wanted a deck that just doesn't really care about that, and that's the nice thing. The way I've tweaked that Kazuta Blue deck at this point in time, it is a very low to the ground, hyper fast aggro deck, kind of similar to Vader, but with a lot bigger butts. It doesn't get as wide as Vader does, but it's got a lot more health on their units, so it's not quite as easy for them to force throw and actually kill something. If they force throw me, they're getting a 1 or 2 cost. So they're getting 1 or 2 damage. That's not going to kill any of my units. If they force throw themselves to just kill one of my units, great. I just got a 2-for-1. I don't mind that at all. So, and then on top of that, it also doesn't really run anything big. The biggest units are 5, and there's only 5 of those in the entire deck. So it stops resourcing sometimes at 4. So you force throw me, you drain my hand. I don't care. I'm going to stop around 4, still drop 2 units a turn, and get to replenish my hand. So it kind of feels a little. It felt good coming into this. I knew I was well positioned. It doesn't have a really strong matchup against a lot of things. It's not a guaranteed win. It's a race game. I'm doing my thing. I don't care what you're doing in general, is kind of how it goes. Can you stop my thing before you die?
It's aggro.
So yeah, it's hyper aggro. And it's, but yeah, I was like, I wanted to do this. I felt like it was a good place to be, and I did feel good. So yeah, I've got a decent matchup into pretty much everything and a few good matchups out there. And then it just kind of comes down to the draws I get against opponents and the draws I get. Started off with a good win against one of the Kylo Tarkentown decks. That felt great. But then I got 3 draws in a row of kind of my worst matchups. Han 2 blue. That's always brutal for this deck because he can race me. That's always the thing. If it's somebody that can race me, then I start to get in trouble. And that's one of the decks that does play big enough units that it can outrace me, even though I get big quick as well. Then it was followed by back-to-back Mother Talzins, which is another deck. They play big enough ground units that they can usually race me and get there before I can. And that's kind of what happened. And I accept that. That is what I know going in. But end of the day, almost all of my losses were I was a swing away. And that's just how it goes sometimes in this game. If you're a swing away from winning, you were darn close. Maybe it was a misplay that made, maybe it was one thing you could have played better, or maybe it was just draw and your opponent got a little better draw, but those are going to go your way sometimes too. So you just got to accept that and ride with it. So I ended up 1-3, but I was like, you know what? We're playing 7 rounds. Let's see if I can just get to a winning record. Maybe make the top 32 for the heck of it and just keep playing my games because I was having fun. It's a very fun deck to play. So I just kept going with it, and I did claw my way back from 1-3 all the way back to 4-3. I got my last 3 games back-to-back wins, a lot of really fun games with actually really enjoyable games with people too. They were just, yeah, I'm just still here playing because I'm having fun at this point in time. Like I know I'm not really making a top placement, but sure, let's just have some fun. Top 32 still got their money back, so it was worth kind of going for that at that point. Unfortunately, because of those early losses, we get to the final rankings and I got 37th. So I didn't quite make it to getting my money back, but doesn't matter. I had a good time, had a good day, good testing of the deck. I still feel like the deck is well positioned right now in the meta. It has the advantage, which I think is a big advantage sometimes, of being a deck that your opponents are not as familiar with. People know these Han decks. People know these Talzin decks. They're teching against it. They're prepared for it. People aren't as prepared for something like Kazuda Blue, for your Han 2 Yellow that you have, Joey. Like things like that. It is sometimes of value if you can get a decent deck that has fair matchups, even if they're slightly, unfavored, a 40-60 or something like that. But if you're in general decent against most of the crowd, and you can have something that they may not be quite as ready for, that can get you easily a surprise game 1 win. And that puts you at an advantage for the rest of the matchup if you get that first win. So there is a lot of value in considering that sometimes, not just chasing this is the strongest meta deck, because I don't think right now we have a meta deck that is just so dominating powerful. Like the results we're seeing is On 2 is very good, but he's not getting there a lot of the time. People are prepared for it, and it's not that good that it's dominating the meta. We don't have a Django, we don't have a Boba. So you
Right.
don't have to always just follow that. Find a deck that you find fun, that you think is best positioned, and just grind it. Practice it. Know your matchups. Know what you're going to be up against, and be prepared. And you can still perform quite well. Uh, I I could have easily, I feel like, taken that deck to top 8 with a little bit more luck than I got yesterday. But sometimes you don't have it, and that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, I was talking to Zach at the PQ, and I was asking him why he brought the Quinlan Tarkentown when he's been an avid Pawn One player for so long.
Yeah.
And he basically said that Quinlan is essentially a 50-50 into almost every match. And
Hmm.
so he always felt like he had a chance no matter what, because there's so many tools in that toolbox of that deck.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, that's probably the best thing. All you want to do is feel like you have a chance. You don't want to ever sit down across from your opponent and go, well, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
Because that's just like it's never feels good to have that happen. So to be able to
Yep.
like say, okay, this might be a struggle, but I can get there. That's really what you're going for. So if you can ever find a deck that you know well enough that gives you at least 50-50 odds into most things, that's the deck you should run. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who it is, what it is, kind of thing. Just find those lines that make you feel the best going into most matchups and just hope to avoid the ones that really don't work. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of where that luck comes into. It's like I will tell you my biggest struggle of a deck to play against, Cad Bane Tarkentown. I still have not cracked the right methodology about how to counterplay against that, because if they hit that line that they can hit of um what is it, Bazine turn one to strip your turn one play into the very
Hmm.
next thing, they can McClunky to get rid of your turn two play into popping Bazine back to their hand, replaying Bazine, take another card out of your hand. They got Forlom right after that, Zuckus right after that. It's like I don't know how to like counter that. I mean, you can throw some shielded units off the get go to hopefully prevent that ping Tarkin town, but it's just like, holy crap, that line can get nasty real
Yep.
quick.
Yeah.
But at the same
Yeah.
time, we don't see Cad Bane decks hitting the top very often
No.
because they struggle against blue green villainy. And
Hmm.
that's where a lot of the decks are right now is blue green villainy or like that blue red villainy kind of thing. So whereas they're usually very, very good, they still have their struggle points. And a lot of them just are hitting bad matchups along the way, hitting those bumps kind of thing. But we also have seen them go really, really far. What was it? Minneapolis. Cad Tarkentown was in the finals with Wu, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Like, it can do very well. It's a good deck. I will say that actually was a frustrating point for me. It's like blue green villainy, or even the Iden green, even that hard control Iden green. Those are my best matchups as a hyper aggro, like the Kaz deck. I wanted to see those, and I didn't see one the entire
right,
game. So it's like, yeah, you sometimes
right.
like that's my absolute best matchup because I can almost always outrace them, go wide enough that their control doesn't, or their control cards just are not able to keep up with how wide I get. So like, yeah, it's like that's my best matchup, and I don't see it once. So again, luck of the draw, sometimes it just gets you. There's nothing you
Yeah,
can do about it.
ironically, I had to face Dan, and he was playing Kylo 5 ECL, I think it was.
Yeah, ECL.
And
Yep.
I was like, okay, cool. I kind of built this deck to counter you, and I see him discard a Power of the Dark Side when I made him discard a card, and I went, okay, cool, we're good. He then proceeds to top deck another Power of the Dark Side, and then draws because I saw his hand with a Sparkle Rebellion. That's how I knew I got rid of the one Power of the Dark Side. So I knew he
Yeah.
top decked the one, and then he proceeds to get another one. So basically, he got all three triple the dark Power of the Dark Sides in like his first three turns, and I went, okay, there's nothing I'm doing now. It's like crap. I couldn't get his
Yeah.
hand stripped fast enough. And so I was like, okay, sometimes that's just what you run into. It's like, I got super frustrated. He let me vent for a little bit, and then we moved on.
Yeah, that is how it goes sometimes. Yeah, there's a lot of luck. It's a card game. There's a lot of luck in a card game. It's gonna
Yes.
happen. I got burned with one of my matches that if I had not had to have had a terrible mulligan at the start, I think I would have had it. But I got a bad mulligan that just put me. I still had a turn one play, but I just wasn't in the position I wanted to be in, where it was one of my worst choices for turn one plays, and I was back foot from the start, and I still ended up a swing away. Like again, it was still that close, but I couldn't quite get there, and that was largely because I was kind of hurt from that very first turn being on the back foot from the start. A little better luck with my draws, and I might have still made it. but I didn't get the luck in the draws either. So it's a card game. You can't let it get you too hard. Just have fun. As long as you, as I always highlight, just like do your grinding, practice with your people you know, make sure you know your matchups. If you're in a good spot and you're well practiced in this game, you could easily make top eight, but you could also easily just fail miserably. I think the best one to highlight, I got to bring this up, Kiri. Kiri is a good friend of mine. He
Oh.
is a fantastic player. You oftentimes hits top eights in
Hmm.
Seattle and Portland. Yeah, he's a regular in the top eights. Is a great player. He went 0 and 5 and dropped. It happens sometimes. And he's just like, you know what? I needed this. This was a humbling experience. I always have to remember there's luck in this sometimes, and this is just
Hmm.
how it goes.
Yep.
So it is the way it is. It doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to have bad days. Don't let
He
that get to you.
right.
If you're confident in your deck, you can still just keep tweaking it, maybe try to cover. Where did you see weaknesses? As I mentioned for myself, I've made some changes already to my deck. I'm considering a couple other small tweaks just from seeing some of the weaknesses and some of the issues I were having, and how can I cover that better, and what cards were underperforming. So I've made a few tweaks. I think it's in a better position now, and curious to give it a try at a showdown we have next week. See how it does, how it performs there.
Yeah, on that Curie note, Curie, I know that deck that he went 0 and 5 with, he also did a top four
Yep.
at a PQ with that exact same deck. So
Yeah.
very much a similar experience as to what I had, where your deck performed super well before, let's run it back, and oh, now we're in the dumpster kind of thing. So
Yeah.
it happens. Speaking of the mulligans, though, I hit the mulligan against a Cad Bane,
Yeah.
and my hand after it ended up being after I resourced because these other two cards were just as bad. I had three 4 drops and a crate dragon in my hand. So that's
That's
my
fortunate.
start, and my opponent bazines me and goes, "Oh, you can keep that." He didn't even want to strip anything out of my hand. That's how bad my mulligan was, and it was just like, "Oh, that's terrible."
Yeah, that hurts. Yeah, mulligans are a risk.
Uh,
Sometimes you have to do it, but
which is why I was
I
on the
always
bot
emphasize.
village.
Yeah, I always like to emphasize if it's playable, you really should think about keeping it. Like if
Right.
it's the middling of this is okay, I could get better. You always remember
You
you could get worse as well.
Yes, yes, you could. So,
Uh,
all right.
that's
So,
I want to wrap with wrap up. I do want to kind of just touch on just what we're seeing of the overall meta in general, and I just had some thoughts I wanted to talk about on that. I actually think we have one more thing to talk about too, but wanted to just touch on what we're seeing from the meta from this and other PQs we're getting there, and it's kind of what I would expect to see. I think it's worth mentioning what we saw initially was, as expected, heavy emphasis on the force decks and a lot of mid-range force decks. Again, I still think Force Throw is warping the meta a bit, specifically in that it's just basically pushing you. If you have a Force deck, you play it as red. Either you play a red Force Leader or you play red on the side, because Force Throw is the best card currently for Force decks in the game, and you're just hindering yourself by not playing it. That's, I think, a good reason. I still argue. I think it's undercosted. I think it's too good of card, and it's warping the meta. Let's just ban it. I hope Fantasy Flight gets around to it. We'll see what they do. I don't know if they will or not. It's not as bad as a Django or anything like that, or a Triple Dark Raid, but I still think it is warping this meta a bit. But as I've said, we start off this mid-range heavy. Now we're starting to see the increase in control. If you're familiar with card games, it's a rock, paper, scissors. Control beats mid-range, aggro beats control, mid-range beats aggro. Because we started off very mid-range heavy, now we're starting to see those control decks start to come into their position, and they're building out what they need. As a control player, I can tell you I can't play control really into a start of a new meta. You need to know what you're playing. I know people, Joey particularly, get very frustrated about how is it you always have exactly the card you need to stop me? And sometimes it's top decking, but a lot of it is you really have to learn with a control deck every single deck, what they're trying to do and what you need to do to stop it and how to properly use your control pieces. It's a very challenging type of tech to play. Like, I know it can feel really frustrating and really hard to deal with, but know that people that are doing that to you have really practiced that deck hard, and it is a lot of stress and a lot of thinking to get there. It is not as easy as it could sometimes look, but you can't really build that control and get that down until you know what most of the field you're going to be up against looks like, so you can build it properly to control that specific field and know how you're playing into it. So now we're seeing exactly that. Now these decks know what they're coming into, what they're going to be looking for, and they're able to build around it and build for it. I think the big reason you're seeing Iden is the uptick in Iden is that healing from Iden makes a huge difference. You throw that on Data Vault, and it can just extend the games a lot more than a lot of these mid-range decks that are kind of aggro-ish mid-range. I mean, I would argue that the Kylo Tarkin Town, the Mother Talzin, even Hantu, they're an aggro-y mid-range. So they're able to build for let's live a little bit longer, keep them down. They're playing top targets in their main deck. Just things to survive and get to that end game longer, or to get to that end game. So we're seeing that uptick, and I think we're going to see that for a little bit now. And then exciting for me is the more we see that uptick, the better it positions aggro decks, which I'm trying to just lean into playing a little bit this set. So I'm a little excited for seeing it go this way because I'm like, oh yeah, the aggro's coming. All right, let's do this.
I don't
Joe, your
completely
thoughts?
agree. I don't completely agree with
Okay,
you
yeah.
on. I understand where you're coming from on that. I think the reason why most people are playing red with the force stuff is because the best force cards are red. It has nothing to do with the fact that since they're forced, they need to play red. But I mean, if you look at like Mace Window, Kiadamundi, they're the red cards. They're already
Yeah.
there, kind of thing. Villain has mainly blue stuff, but they already had Force Lightning and they already had Force Choke. So they already
Mhm.
had the force synergistic cards in red before all the force units came out, kind of thing. So I think red was just the natural force color to begin with. Force
Sure.
throw, I still agree, yes, is overtuned for what it does, but a lot of people have been talking about Chaotic Mundi as the big problem because you're able to draw cards and then force throw yourself and have no detriment because your hand size didn't really shrink at that point in time. So you're able to like get the maximum
Yeah.
value. You're not risking, oh, I got something out of my opponent's hand and didn't know what my removal was going to be. But if you get rid of Mundi, then force throw becomes a worse problem in my opinion because then
Yeah.
you don't have the card draw recovery from losing cards out of your hand when they get stripped and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's a very fine line to walk. I don't think it is definitely a big player in the meta. You do need to have an awareness of it. I don't know that they're gonna suspend that card at all. I mean, Data Vault is also you get all the extra health. You get all. I mean, is that a big problem kind of thing? Because that's allowing all these
Yeah.
control decks to really get there kind of thing, right? Because if they didn't have that extra health, can they get there? They didn't have all those extra tools in their deck. Could they get there? Because you're talking about how the control and the removal is, it takes a lot of skill to do that. Yes, it takes an understanding of the meta to know what you need to target as your major threats, such as with Annihilator to remove all copies of that card.
Mhm.
However, I disagree with you on the front of there is so much card removal in this game you really don't
Yes.
have to know what the meta is. I can literally just go, oh, that takedown, oh, that takedown, oh, that shatter point, oh, that what power of the dark side, oh, that merciless contest. There's so many things that are blanketed. I don't need to know what the target is. It just goes away that you don't need to really know what the meta is. It's just all I have to do is have a single removal card that I can remove whatever unit you play, and since we do the back and forth, I play one, you play one, I play, you play one, as long as your hand size has all the tools, it doesn't matter. There's only certain
Yeah.
ones you really have to understand. Is this the best one to play at this point in time? Things like vigilance, where if you're going to use it to remove a unit, yes, they have to be less than 3 health or 3 health or less. So those ones you really have to go, okay, what's the best one to target for this? Or do I need to use a bigger one to get rid of this? Should I hold my bigger one for this threat that's going to come out? In that regard, knowing what decks people are playing helps you navigate that stuff. But I still feel like we have way too much universal hard removal that it's going to create a problem going down the line.
I'd agree. I mean, we'll hopefully see something improve with the rotation hit because I do think the last couple sets have not seen as much as we had in the first three sets. So might get better. But really quick, yeah. I mean, I will agree. I think I don't. I'm not as frustrated by a lot of them. I do agree there's too many. We could use a little bit of reduction. I do 100% think that you should not be able to have six edicts in your deck. An edicts, it's a magic term. It's the make your opponent sacrifice a unit. It's the three power of a dark sides and three merciless combats, which are built to say like they have a downside, but they don't have a downside to a control deck that's never playing early units anyway. That I think was a big mistake. You should never have six of those available to put in a deck at once because those are incredibly powerful cards that should be more limited. That's I think the one that I would say that was a massive error on Fantasy Flight's side.
Merciless contest is not a problem if you have to fulfill the restriction, otherwise you don't get the benefit. If you're not sacrificing a unit yourself, you don't get to kill their unit. The whole fact that you can do what you can is the problem when it comes to that card. It should be
Yeah.
you have to do what the card says or you don't get the benefit from it. That's the kind of the rule that they need to go away with is it's not do what you can. You have to do it. That's it. And that's the problem with cards like that is when you have that blanketing rule over it. But what is it?
Yeah.
The card rule always supersedes the rules. Isn't that the way it's supposed to work? Doesn't seem to work that
Yes.
way here. So that's the problem. But anyway, I just hope that they don't keep reprinting a lot of hard removal cards in future sets once it does cycle out. Otherwise, you just run into the same problem we're already at. So
Yeah, we'll see how
it's
they handle it going forward. Like I do think Merciless Combat was a couple sets ago, right? That's going to rotate out along with Power of the Dark Side.
I believe it does. Yes.
Yeah, I think both of those rotate out at the same time. I don't think we're going to have an edict right away. I do think by the end of before next rotation, we probably will get one of those reprinted or something similar. It's a very common, like it's something that is a staple of control in the first place. You kind of need that, but I think we will probably see a little bit of a break because I think Fantasy Flight does hear the frustrations and does
But
get it.
but I'm going to predict you're wrong based off of what the theme of the next set is: spies and
True,
politics. It's all about
true.
decisions and choices. I think we're getting another one printed, and then that way that one becomes the main one once the cycle goes out. So I'm predicting we're going to get another one of those stupid Power of the Dark Side type removal cards in the next set.
And I will say, if we do, it absolutely needs to be a reprint. Please do not print another one because oh God, I don't even want to think about. I mean, I'm going back to control if we
Nine.
have nine edicts.
Yeah.
Obviously, I would go right
Nine.
back to control because why the hell would I not play this? I have a Power of the Dark Side all day long. Great.
I'll just start doing draft PQs and never touch Premiere again after that. So all right.
Yeah.
So
So
speaking of PQs, the last thing that we kind of want to touch base on here is we have seen reports of PQs already happening that have had as few as 16 players. Been
15.
some 15.
15 was the
Okay.
lowest. Yeah.
There's like a 32 player, there's been 60 players, and then we have ours, which was at the 122 player cap. If you go back and you look at the point breakdown for the season of how you can earn points to qualify for Galactics going into this season one,
Mhm.
only the top 8 people get points.
Yeah.
And that doesn't matter what size of a PQ you have. That's what happens. And that to me is a mistake by FFG. I really feel like, and I got an email for a survey from Galactics
Mhm.
about like things that you liked and didn't like and everything else like that. And I haven't filled it out yet because I haven't had time, but I plan on filling it out and making this comment. So if you agree to this sentiment, please
Yes.
put forth the opinions and let them be heard, because the more people that chime out about this, I think the more a change could potentially happen. It is my personal opinion, and I hope other people share this, that the points should be scaled based off of size of the event. I.e., in
Yes.
my opinion, it starts at 32. Every 32 people, the top 8 people get points towards Galactics, which means 64, the top 16 people, 96, the top 24 people. And then at 128, the top 32 people get points towards Galactics. And you can scale them down from there. The
Yeah.
reason I think this should be the way that it works is you want to encourage players to go to these large events. And only the top 8 basically says to me, well, you just got to win the thing like you had to before anyway. Because even getting second place, you have to get second place at 3 just to qualify. And as we've already said, that's not an easy feat. It takes a lot of luck. And especially if you're in a larger tournament, it's a lot more luck and skill involved than if you're in a smaller tournament. Yes, you still have to play the game and everything, but I would argue that it's a very different environment that you're playing in at that point in time, and the stakes are higher in a bigger tournament because the challenge is
Mhm.
higher.
Yeah, I like my odds a lot better in a 15-player tournament compared to a 122-player tournament. That's for sure.
Right. So
Uh, yeah.
my only guess as to why they have it scaled the way they do is because they are upping the number of PQs to 512. Well, with an asterisk, because that might not even be the in number. So it could be higher, it could be lower. We don't know that. And I
Hmm.
think they're using it as a governing tool on how many people they're actually going to have at the main event going into the next season. Um, I think they are underestimating at this point in time. Like I think that with the way that the numbers are scaled out, they are going to see a drastic reduction because people aren't going to be able to qualify, and a lot of people are going to be like, "Well, if I didn't qualify, I'm not coming."
Yeah.
So it's if you want to see the player base get there kind of thing, you need to incentivize them to get there. And I think having the PQs, like even down to like say if you had a 128 person and the 32nd person, maybe they only get 5 points, but it's something that incrementally can get them there in the end. So then it's like, oh, well, I played in all the PQs. I got 32nd in all of them, and I got fourth in one of them. So I qualified kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
That's a positive thing to keep people going and showing up at these things time and time again. So I think they have drastically under incentivized with the point system how to get there, and I think it needs some reevaluation. And I think a
Yeah.
32 player scaling is the way to go, and especially since we have the leaderboard, which allows you to go above the 100 you need to qualify. So it doesn't de-incentivize people that have already won to stop coming. It just means you're potentially taking tickets away from people if you win multiple of them at that point in time, which is also like a kind of a feels bad for the rest of the player base.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. Is it's frustrating for like us in the Pacific Northwest, who we've built an incredible player base that's grown very large. And some of it's natural, but some of it has been a lot of us players helping to build this, bringing people in, encouraging them to play, getting them in these PQs. Like we have created this very, very large community of a lot of people. And now you're telling us, oh, we're all disadvantaged for getting points for Galactics because we grew this community. We should have just kept it small so that we could be having these 15 or 20 person PQs. Like it's frustrating to see. It's just one of those like why are these small PQs getting advantage compared to those of us that are sustaining this game, that are creating the player base and growing it and making this game into something bigger. Why are we disadvantaged because of that? What were you thinking?
Question, and I don't think this would be good for the game stores. Why not just cap your PQs instead of making them the 128 as a store yourself? You could just cap it so then the players have a better odds of actually getting there.
You could. I mean, yeah,
I don't agree with
that's
that.
another
I'm not
option.
saying they should do that. I'm just saying, like, if people were being super hyper competitive, then just do that.
Yeah, that's a fair option. But yeah, I think what you're saying is probably the best way to go because that doesn't at that point that doesn't excuse me advantage or disadvantage anyone. That really kind of is good for the big and the smalls, and then you still
Right.
can try to have these PQs in these more remote places with not as big a player base too. I mean, you are trying to grow the player bases there too. Like that is part of the goal there in this as well. And yes, we want to see that grow, but also like why should we be disadvantaged just because we have a strong player base that's able to travel easily? I mean, that's another advantage we have obviously in the Pacific Northwest is it's not a long drive between the different parts of the Pacific Northwest, and it's just straight up and down I-5 or the five for you Californians that like to call things weird things. Uh, so it's a couple hours, 3-4 hours maximum from Seattle to Portland. Like it's very short. Salem's a couple hours away. Even Southern Oregon's 4 hours away. So it's easy for people to hop up and down the corridor up here in the Northwest, which isn't true for all parts of the country, and that's
No.
fair. But don't disadvantage us because of it. That's kind of just our viewpoint of it. And it's true also, like I know there's some big communities out in Atlanta and things like that. It's like, why disadvantage those communities for these other smaller podunky communities? Okay, podunk's a little. I'm from Iowa. I can say podunk
Derogatory. Come
because
on, get
Iowa
out of here.
hates podunk.
I think
I'm from
ultimately
Iowa.
though,
It's fair.
I think the ultimate thing though is that if you have a scaling system, it allows and encourages growth versus a cap system. So
Yes,
I think that's just basically the thing because ultimately we all just want to grow and keep the game sustained. So the more we can get people involved and encourage them, hey, and so you can start at your local game store. There's the Hoth starter that's
yeah,
coming out. Oh, now you can go into a showdown. This is a little bit a taste of the next level. Oh, now you can go into the PQs. But if they
yeah,
if they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, they're not going to keep going into the tunnel. So it's
exactly.
yeah, you have to provide that. And even as like an experienced and like long-standing player, I saw the point system and went, "Ew,
Well,
that looks gross."
yeah, yeah, especially what you're saying, like getting just a few points encourages people to want to play more because I want to try to get more points so maybe I can get that day one buy. Like that just a trickling of points, even if it's five, it's still something to just kind of encourage. Well, I got 5 points. Maybe I can maybe do a little better. And they're planning to have a lot more of these PQs. We're going to see a lot more of these. There's a lot more chances for it, and that's again probably why they wanted to cap it a little bit. But still, that little bit of incentive keeps people coming back and helps continue to, as you said, grow the game, which is what we all want to see.
Yep. All right. Well, point made, opinion expressed, and if you agree with it, please, I encourage you to
Leave
fill out that
comments.
survey and like let them know that hey, this is something that we would like to see in the future, kind of thing. Or if not my idea, a different one, suggest it. Great, fine, fantastic. I mean, I'm not saying that my idea is the best idea. I just want to see something a little bit better than what they got, in my opinion. So,
And
anyway, go ahead.
worth noting also, if you do have a different idea, add it in the comments below. Or if you
Yeah.
hate something about us, leave it in the comments below. We don't care. Just give us comments. Tell
No,
tell
seriously,
us how you feel.
I would love to hear a different idea that maybe is even better than mine. That's fantastic.
Oh,
So, anyway, that's going to do it for us for this episode of Holotable Games Network. Thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. This time with actual gameplay. Corey,
yes. Next week. Have a great week, everyone.
bye bye.